We're losing content.
Yes, valuable content.
We need to monetize our content.
Right. Yeah, when's the American Greed Factory store going up where it just costs you money to go to the site? You can't buy anything, it just costs you money to go to the site.
And we are live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed Factory.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcasts. Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
All right, high energy. Here we go.
Andrew!
Scream your name
from
the rooftops. Yeah, here we go with another podcast for everyone. Hang on, it's going to be fun.
Next time we'll do advisory for people listening with earbuds. That way, I don't burst anything.
Yeah, we'll just do a sound advisory.
Welcome to NPR. We're like pillows for your ears.
Hey, I met an NPR. I met an actual guy that worked at NPR this week at the Model Cave.
Yeah,
he does the Jazz Hour. It's the local NPR affiliate, but it's the station I listen to. And I was like, "Oh, you're my alarm clock in the morning." He's like, "No, that's not me. That's he named the guy, and that was his name. Recognized the name, and he said, "Yeah, I can't do that." I said, "He's got to come in at like 4 a.m. just to get started, but he's out by noon." And I said, "That's cool." He does the Jazz Hour, and as soon as he said it, it's like, I recognize your voice. And that's kind of weird. He was having trouble with his car, so we were talking about that. He says, "Yeah, it's a 2000 Cadillac." I was like, "I'll get rid of it." We had it. It's like, yeah, it's not worth it. It's going to be luxury cars. Don't buy them because the parts are just,
Oh, or let's buy them if you're not going to use them.
Yeah, if they're going to sit there and look cool, if you have Jay Leno money, you can buy them by all means. But yeah, when I hear about the $1,000 alternators, I'm just like, nope. That's ridiculous. And I'm talking American luxury cars, even let alone the foreign ones. That's just.
Your Lamborghini part broke down. We need to get some Italian to handcraft a new one.
There's videos on YouTube. I don't know if these people won the lottery and they're just fools, or they're really good mechanics and they're trying to commoditize something weird. They'll buy wrecked Lamborghinis out of Florida, but they live in Tennessee, and they'll buy them at auction for like $10,000, like a Diablo that's just been smashed into a wall. It's like, we're going to put this back together. And they start ordering parts and stuff, like $3,000 magnesium A-arms and shit. But by the end of the show, they've got a Diablo. Like, they have one. It's you figured out how to fix it. I remember the one guy went to a radiator shop because the radiators are the engines are in the back, so the radiators are weirdly shaped in the front, and they got long pipes running back. And a bunch of them got cracked, and they called Lamborghini, how much for these? And it was something just astronomical. And so they went to the radiator shop. It's like, "Can you repair these?" And the guy's like, "No, because those aren't made out of, that's made out of some kind of super lightweight material." It's like, "Okay, can you make something like this out of regular material?" It's like, "It would cost you as much for me to do that as it would for you to just buy them from Lamborghini." So then they found the guy that's like, "I'll try to fix them. I'm not going to guarantee." And they pressure tested them and everything, and they worked, and they put them back in, but they were kind of rounded off. So they had to modify part of the frame, grind it away so they'd fit in there right. It's and there's all kinds of YouTube channels like this. I bought a $5,000 Lamborghini, and I'm thinking, good luck. And 9 times out of 10, they work.
I remember there's one Jay Leno video where he's like talking about a Rolls Royce and he was like fixing something on it, and it's like, yeah, these were all handmade. Like one guy worked on this car, and like everything when he put it together, it all worked. But when you go and repair it, like it doesn't work right because only one guy knows how to fix that car, and he's dead.
The one guy in like Sheffield, England, that hand built that. Oh, what did they have on Jay Leno? They had a guy that did something cool. He had like a late 70s, I don't know what it was, a Silver Spur, Silver Shadow, one of those. And it was like body was in good shape, which is actually those things can rust out pretty bad. Because Rolls Royces, they just put a lot of paint on them. So, but when they start rusting, look out, because it's mostly paint holding that together. So body was in good shape because it was from Southern California. And then he looked into like, well, what kind of motor can I, how can I get a Rolls Royce? Like he wanted to restore this car. And he looked into the prices of Rolls Royce motors, Rolls Royce transmissions. He was like, no, all American, like big muscle car engine in it, dual pipes running out the back, 350 hydromatic transmission, souped up to handle the power. And it was a Rolls Royce, and it still had that big wavy ride. But when he hit the gas, it was like, whoa, like an American muscle car. Dual pipes and everything. Jay Leno thought that was really cool. He was like, this is a great old lady, and yeah, instead of letting it go to a junkyard, I guess you could do this. It was actually pretty cool because like all the heater controls and stuff in that era of Rolls Royces, they're hydraulic. So like when you move the vent, there's some kind of pressurized thing in there with oil in it that like slowly moves the vent, to feed or to defrost or whatever. It's all liquid controlled. The wipers are each individual motors, but there's like a synchronizer in the middle, a gear synchronizer that keeps these wipers moving. Like it's like you would in America, you would stick a motor in there, put a rail on it, and both of them would move back. Not the British. We got to have a gearbox, wipers, and this guy threw all that shit out and put regular stuff on it. And it was still it wasn't as quiet a ride because it had he put some ungodly powerful engine in it, but it was and he actually said this engine has way more horsepower than the original Rolls-Royce engine, and it gets better fuel economy because most Rolls-Royces were 2 or 3 speeds because it was just really smooth. They had a power range. It was just like first gear was way up here, and then the second gear, and then that's it. And you were getting 10 miles of the gallon, 8 miles of the gallon, premium fuel only. That era, it'd be lead fuel, but yeah, that's I've seen a few people, like they love the Rolls-Royce shape, the body, the interior, but they're not going to pay for the parts. So they're just, we have big, powerful engines here. You got a huge engine bay on those, just put it in. It's not going to be as quiet. It's not going to be smooth. But who wouldn't want to be in a Rolls-Royce and just dump the gas and spin it in a circle? Like that would definitely see, like, whoa.
America.
That's right. Well, and weirdly enough, loud, obnoxious, much more reliable, gets better fuel economy. But people who buy Rolls Royces don't care what kind of mileage they get.
Doesn't it mean they should redo that Grey Poupon commercial from like the 90s with the Rolls Royce that pulls up and the guy rolls down the window with classical music, and it's like, do you have any Grey Poupon? And the other person in the Rolls Royce is like, fuck you! And then just guns it and burns off.
Screw you, limey! It's got ladder bars on the back of his Rolls Royce to keep it from flipping. I mean, those are still 5,000-pound cars. I think this guy actually put like a marine duty, some kind of hopped up V8 engine in it. But yeah, I mean, I think that if I ever had money, I'd probably do nonsense like that, because why not? First thing I'd have is a Mad Max Interceptor. I don't know how I'd build it at this point. Probably just have people.
You find a guy.
Fabricate. Well, I would want to do some of the work I can do. I can't paint. I'm not a great mechanic, but I want to be involved in the process. But yeah, because there's a guy in Michigan who lives around here, and he's at car shows and actually got one of those and built it. I mean, it has the old 70 EFI fuel injection. It's like, I don't know where he found these antique hot rod parts, but he drives it around, and it's right-hand drive with a big blower sticking out of the hood. And it's like, oh, you must like say a prayer every time you got to make a left. He's got a big blower there. Like, if you're driving on the right, you can't see. It's like, well, I hope these people are stopping. But yeah, he's got I think his blower actually works though. Doesn't have the fake blower on it like the movie one did.
They don't make blowers anymore for cars?
No, they do. It's just that movie, because that movie was made during the oil crisis, and that was supposedly what ended civilization. And so it had a blower you could turn off and on, and that doesn't exist in real life because crankshafts and pistons don't like variable pressure. Like when you go from sea level pressure to 14 atmospheres, suddenly cranks and pistons tend to shatter and explode. So you could never really shut down a blower. Would have to run consistently to work properly. At least that's what I've read. Never put a blower on a car, so never had the money to. You know, you can build a hot engine, and then it's like, how much to put a blower on that? Well, how much did you spend for that engine? Oh, about $6,000. Okay, well, about twice that. So yeah, that's gonna be sinking some money into that. And then you could do nitrous oxide if you really like working on cars. Put nitrous in there. I know guys that have them in their Jeep off-road custom made vehicles. Like, when do you hit the nitrous in a Jeep? Like, how does that work?
Well, you really need to climb that one big rock that's left.
Isn't that like slow progression? But I guess that's not like as much nitrous. I don't know. The guy tried to explain it to me. I was like, okay, you just built a $50,000 weirdo vehicle, so it's that's cool. Could have had a Corvette with, you know, you could have bought one of those those Ford Cobra cars from the 60s. They make exact replicas out of them in South Africa now. The same engine and everything. I mean, they're just death traps. They're just those roller skates with the, what was that engine called? The 429 side oiler. It was some like, it's still one of the fastest 0 to 60 cars in the world, like to this day, and it was made in the 50s or 60s. It was one of those weird Ford things where it's like, we're gonna spend some money. We want to make the fastest thing ever. Okay, here you go. And then they just don't do anything else like that for 30 years. It's like, oh, okay, guess you got the fastest.
Did you see the trailer for the Ford versus Ferrari movie?
Which I thought that was is that the documentary?
No, it's a movie.
Matt Damon and Christian Bale.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, go ahead and pop it on.
Yeah, it's pretty goddamn good.
Let me. Because the last one I watched was the one Adam Carolla did, the 24-Hour War.
We'll have some showtime here for a little bit.
Because that was the one where Henry Ford III was. I don't know if he narrated it or something. Heard about it at work. What's it called?
Ford versus Ferrari. I think James Mangold directed it.
Oh, it's got Matt Damon and stuff in it. Oh,
yeah.
This is like a real movie.
Yeah, it's a real movie.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. No, I mean, I know who he is. Who's he playing?
Shelby Cobra.
Yeah.
Or Shelby, not.
Carol Shelby?
Carol Shelby.
Carol.
Oh, okay.
You say Shelby Cobra?
Yeah, I said Shelby Cobra. That's
Well,
the car.
That'd be awesome if that was his actual name.
Well, it is like when you call it a Cobra, you call
No,
it
I
a
know.
Shelby
It's
Cobra.
Shelby Cobra, yeah. No, it would just be awesome. It's like, I'm Shelby Cobra.
I'm Shelby Cobra. This is my Shelby Cobra. This is my kid Shelby Cobra.
No, because I know Joe Berthold in it as well, and then
Oh yeah, he's like
guy from Ford.
yeah, he's like some executive.
And then like the Henry Ford II, like that part of the fucking trailer is like awesome. Where it's just like, you ready? I'm born ready, and then he just fucking guns it and does some cones, and the guy like laughs and cries at the same fucking time.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell if he was crying or laughing or if he was like exasperated.
We need a pure
Yeah, it's pretty impressive trailer.
Plus 10 inch. We heard he's difficult.
No, no.
That
Ken,
office
up you
he's
go.
sitting in is still there.
No, whatever it is, no, trust me.
You're going to build a car to beat Ferrari with a Ford.
Correct.
And how long did you tell them they're going to do? 200-300 years?
90 days.
That's about it, too.
This isn't the first time Ford Motors has gone to war. We know how to do more than push paper. Go ahead, Carol. Go to war.
Thank you, sir.
Do you think you can beat Ferrari?
I can try.
We're lighter, we're faster. That don't work, we're nastier. We're gonna make history.
You ready?
I was born ready, Mr. Shelby. Hit it.
I wonder if they got buy-in on that or if they're just going independent. 'Cause I have not heard of that.
Why not? Yeah, I know it's been kicking around for a long time, but yeah, they finally made it.
That's like an expensive movie. I mean, if you're buying the Rolling Stones, which have become the official soundtrack.
Well, that's just the trailer, so that's different. That's a different budget.
Rolling Stones, the official soundtrack for "You're Old." Like,
But you know they do that. But I don't. I think there's minimal CGI. Like they really wreck those cars and shit in that movie.
Oh yeah, well they have a bunch of them out there. Those are really frightening cars too. I remember they drove. They let one of the guys. What was the Top Gear America, the History Channel one? What
Yeah.
was it called? Yeah, they let one of the guys that drive one at Dearborn. He could drive it like a foot because the car's worth like millions and millions of dollars. Because it was one of those cars. But then they have an exact replica he could drive around the track, same engine and everything. And it scared the shit out of the guy because the engine's right behind you, like it's right there smoking and burning. And yeah, he drove it around the track. He's like, "Oh, this is insane because there's no traction control or anything. They just slide all over the place." That was Walt Disney, 20th Century Fox. How many people died when they did that race? It was like 6 people.
I don't know.
I remember it was a pretty grim Le Mans race for that time.
Because there was like races and deaths before that Le Mans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because there's like a lot of like this car like, hey, we built the car, it's cool now. Like there was a lot of like failure on the way there.
Well, I know they had like 3 cars and 3 drivers, and the other 2 were just to screen the main driver. And I think in some of that screening, they like ran people off the road and killed them, which is acceptable in that at that time, I believe. Well, that's cool.
Because like yeah, because that was something. So I was listening to that F1 podcast, and they were talking about like the other like endurance racing stuff. Because like the 24-hour Le Mans, that's kind of like the big one. But there's other like here's the 8 hours of whatever or the 16 hours of whatever. But it's kind of the culmination is the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Oh, okay. So Maya actually makes a really cool kit of the Ford GT40. It's very expensive.
don't get model distracted. Handling going.
7-liter engine.
How expensive is the kit?
Oh, I don't know. It's like $100.
It's not horrible, but not great.
Yeah, Le Mans is crazy. I mean, when I watched that 24-hour war, which is about this, yeah, that's a brutal. It still is to this day. Because Ford ran in it last year, I think, with the new GT, the aluminum one.
There's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of people that, I can't remember. There's a lot of people that are just rich, and they'll just like pay their way in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rich buying their way into things? What?
Well, have you ever heard a paid-for driver? Have you ever heard that term?
Yes, I have.
It's like a guy will basically like, hey, we have a spot open, but like the team doesn't have a lot of money, and then like a rich guy who races car will just buy his spot in the team. Like he's giving the team money to race. It's called like a paid for driver, and and then well, there was Nicky Lauda. He was he was a paid for driver, and he ended up winning championships and shit. But it's like kind of goes either way. But I think the last one I know was like Pastor Maldonado, and he was he basically wrecked every race. He'd win one race and then like wreck 17 other races. So yeah, they eventually like kicked him out for being unsafe. Well, it's not that they kicked him out; it's just like nobody picked him up to drive for their team. It's like, yeah, we're good.
We're good.
But yeah, there's a thing about with Le Mans, you can qualify for because in order to drive like F1 cars and stuff below that, you have to have what's called a super license. And like there's various different organizations where you can earn your super license, and one of those is the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Huh. Did not know that.
So like if you win the 24 Hours of Le Mans, it's basically like, hey, you can go drive F1 cars now, even if you're not suited for it whatsoever. And there's a weird thing with those endurance races where there's just like, because they just let all the cars go at once, and there's like fucking 4 different races going on at the same time. Because like some people aren't even like necessarily competing to win; they're just like competing in their bracket. But it's like I said, there's 5 different races going on at once. Because there's different categories and different fields. So like not everybody it's like trying to win the race. Some people are just trying to be the best of like the C-class cars or whatever.
Yeah, I'm reading like all the class brackets now. This is mind-boggling. Huh. Cool. Let's see. I found an interesting model that's on topic. I don't know if
models are always on topic.
I don't know if anyone's watched Chernobyl yet.
I've seen it all.
Okay. Well, I was at the store last night, and I'm starting to get my lacquer paint collection, and I was looking around. There was one scene in that movie I remember where they're in the helicopter, and remember Turbinen's like, fly over the top of it, let's see it, and the guy's like, you'll be dead, we can't do that, and he tells the pilot, if you don't fly over that, I'm going to shoot you, and the guy's like, if you do fly over it, you'll beg for that bullet. And so I found, weirdly enough, a model of the helicopter. This is an $8 model. This is from 1981, I think. It's from a Czechoslovakian model company, which those students of history who listen to the podcast, Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. So, but basically this is a Russian model of a Russian Hind Mi-8, which is what they were flying on in that scene. And then not only did I do that, but I still shotted the scene, and I rebuilt the interior of the helicopter, because this just came with like a bunch of jump seats to carry soldiers. So I redid the interior of the helicopter that has the weird table and the big comfy chairs and all that. So, just for a little quickie build, because there's not much to this model, and it's this is a 1970s vintage model. So as you can see, there's lots of gaps that have to be filled and stuff like that. Here's the sticker sheet. This is how you know you got an old model. You see how yellow everything has turned? That's what that glue turns into, especially ones from the Eastern Bloc. So I'm building a genuine commie model built by the people that, from that era and that time. And it's for $8. It's like, yeah, I'll buy a model for $8 and put $30 worth of materials into making it look as good as I can. I just thought that was funny. It's like, oh, okay. Not only am I going to do that, I'm going to build the interior, which no one will see, but...
They just take photos beforehand, and then you display it with your model. It's like, this is what the interior looks like.
Well, you can see the interior through the portholes.
Oh, okay.
There's little portholes there. And you'll be able to see, because there's if you notice, like the whole back section, I didn't build, because the portholes, you don't see that. So. But, yeah, so I thought, oh, okay, I can do this for the... And post it as a weird meme. It's like, this is how weirdly obsessed I am with that TV show. building models of the helicopters from it.
I like your Facebook post, like, how do you know if you're in a toxic work environment? And it's like talking behind people's backs, something. Your
Weird.
RBM,
No
your,
break.
your RBMK reactor is open.
Yeah, well, that's just seeing who's paying attention. That actually looks like, oh, this is one of those business ads you click on. It's like, no, read closely. There's something ridiculous in there.
Well, Andrew has some models.
Okay, bring them up. Let me go full screen. Hold on. Where's my full screen option? Oh, there we go. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Like the jet. Oh, those are the old. Are those the old style jet packs?
No, these are the new Chaos Space Marines range.
Oh, okay.
They updated them and gave them more bits and bobs and more detail, and because the other guys are a little bit smaller and look a little more hunched over, kind of. The packs never really changed too much, I don't think.
Are these like Blood Marines or whatever they call them?
These are the Khorne. They're called Brazen Beasts. They basically like to control demon engines and stuff like that more than anything else. But yeah, they just love killing things and like feeling blood all over them and skulls and shit. So
who doesn't?
And that guy's just Bioshock guy with a shotgun and a flamer on an ATV.
I like that. I like the wraparound unit there.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that kit because it has 4 dirt bikes and an ATV in it. And the ATV comes with either an anti-tank weapon, a machine gun, or a flamer. And you can give that guy a wrench or like a power axe or shotgun. I gave him a shotgun because shotguns seem more. But that guy's got an axe. He's really.
It's very hard to balance that and keep a bike up. Like the diorama plate, did you do that separately or did that all come with it?
No, a base comes with it. I mean, I based it, so that's all like, loose rock with glue and fake grass and stuff like that. So
okay.
Been trying to work on my basing. That's probably one of the parts of my game that really needs to get better. And all the guys in the dirt bikes, all the pistols are like gangster pistols, where it's like holding it from the side and shooting. So it's kind of a nice little touch.
That's how the Chinese were trained to shoot their automatic broom handles.
Then you got Old West 3-arm gunslinger guy.
Okay. A third arm must help.
Oh yeah, he's supposedly a really impressive character killer in my game. I haven't used him yet though. I decided to paint him because I like the way he looks and he's impressive.
Yeah.
Three holsters in his cape and all that other shit.
Okay. That's cool.
And then you got DJ Insurrection. Which is just the guy with some fucking loudspeakers strapped to him and a fucking device to broadcast propaganda and shit.
Oh, is he fomenting rebellion?
Yeah.
Good. Good for him.
Standing on a book.
Yeah. Which is a nice touch.
Getting ready to burn it?
Yeah, probably. And then you got DJ Bring the House Down because you got a giant mutant guy with a fucking hammer and a little mutant sidekick. Grabbing onto his leg.
That's funny.
And then just something I bought
heavy.
from Poland because I thought it was a cool terrain piece. It's like a ancient kind of like statue.
Oh, okay. What does it say on the front of it there?
It's just all like Latin.
Oh, Latin stuff? Okay.
But it's just supposed to be, I think it's Latin.
Miserere Meldevs Sanctum Magnum Misericonium to Ivam et Securum.
We sacrifice our liberty for security. I don't know.
Multivanium Misery.
The website I got from was Alien Lab Miniatures, and they're from Poland.
Okay.
So I have no idea what kind of. I mean, they mostly do fantasy-based stuff. This seemed kind of more in a gray area where it's like kind of early pre-heresy Space Marine stuff, kind of like a statue of like a hero that kind of has like a little shrine. I don't know. I was trying to pull off doing like a stone statue that looked like it aged and, had a bunch of different wear and tear to it, and see if I could effectively do that. And I think I did a pretty decent job.
Get some pictures of those and put it up on Facebook.
Yeah, I should. I took pictures with my cell phone. I just never really do anything, so I just show.
Yeah, this one's like really heavy. You'd be surprised. Like this middle piece feels like it just is actually a rock.
Yeah, and that costs $7.
Probably some kind of dense resin.
It is. You can see it's definitely 3D printed because I've bought some bases for them. They're ancient temple ruins, so it has like marble heads and columns kind of crashing down with ornate floors, and you can definitely tell on the bigger stuff it's definitely 3D printed because the lines in it. It doesn't actually show up very much after painting, which is nice. Not anything I'd really want, because obviously that's kind of jarring. Like, look how much time I spent painting it. Well, you can still see all the lines from where it 3D printed.
Yeah.
So, but there's actually a good 3D resin printer. You have to cure all the plastic yourself in the sunlight or UV light after you print it. But it prints such micro lines on it and pretty much prints anything you want. And I can't remember the damn name of it. I was researching it this week because I was thinking.
Well, you can print an ABS plastic, and if you put it in a what do you call that? It's like a bath where it's like you
acetone.
Yeah, acetone bath, and it'll smooth everything out. So you just kind of, if you futz with it, and you can also just sand it the fuck down too if you want to.
Well, yeah, I kind of figured. I was just kind of looking at it because some of the things I'd like to do, especially with basing, it's really hard. I mean, I don't have like corkboard, or I have some of the GW stuff where it dries. It kind of looks like sand or Mars terrain. It's okay. I'd rather kind of invest in like bases that are more like have stuff like bullet holes or grading all over them, or something more dynamic to start with, to give me more of a leg up as far as making things look even better. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's something. I think I'm getting better with certain things. There's somebody, the Chaos Space Marine Conlon was showing you. Somebody, I showed pictures of the guys at the shop this week, and they're like, "You airbrush that?" I'm like, "No, I don't own an airbrush." They're like, "Why does it look like it's airbrushed?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just fucking painted it by hand." And it's
proper
like
paint thinning.
Well, yeah, but it was like, yeah, all the stuff you've shown off recently, it looks like it's airbrushed. I'm like, yeah, don't own an airbrush. So it was like, well, how do you do that? It's like,
well, I thought this one was pretty impressive. I'm not sure if you can necessarily see it, but like if you see how he did the eyes, like he fucking got in there. It's like
they have deep eye sockets.
Yeah,
he's got
like
goggles on,
goggles.
but he's like he has the goggles have its own definition. He perfectly has the red in the kind of like the goggle eyes or whatever.
Okay, I can't really see it. But
no, it's not really.
Put those up on Facebook, and I can see all.
Yeah,
that.
no, I can definitely work on that. I've been meaning to do that because I always get compliments in the shop, and I always tell people that I would like to start doing that for money, but nobody ever takes me seriously. So at some point, maybe they will.
Make the hobby pay for itself.
Well, just a little bit extra cash more than anything else. I know I'm not going to get rich off it or anything. I would just like to.
Shh, don't tell the government.
You have a dream. We have a tax for it.
My dream is to fuck old rich ladies and live off their dime. Damn it, we can't tax. Oh shit, we can't tax them.
My money just makes money.
So a G3 happened this week.
G3?
Or whatever, what's it called?
E3?
E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo?
Yeah, that's how much I know about that one. We talked about it a little before, so give me some
There
highlights.
could be a convention called G3. I don't know.
Well, this was like Microsoft's show to steal because they're pretty much the only manufacturer there.
Okay.
And I mean, their conference was good, but there's nothing that was like, holy shit, like none of that. I mean, they announced Project Scarlet, which is their next console, which they estimate to be out next November.
What's the price point on that, I wonder?
No price point.
Probably close to $1,000.
No, there's never been a console release that
Well,
much.
the last one that
It'll
came
probably
out was
be,
600 or 700, wasn't it?
It'll probably be 500. That's my guess.
Because they're.
It depends what Sony does.
Well, I mean,
because last time they were like, we're releasing at $600. Like you'll get a Kinect and like you get to do weird stuff with your cable. And then Sony's like, fuck it, $500.
well, I'm just.
And they lost the whole war.
Well, okay, so I'm just gonna assume. I'm just gonna assume a few things about Project Scarlet right off the bat. one, if your $500 price point is correct, it's just because not only have hard drives and all the other things gotten cheaper, but there's also no big technological improvements besides maybe the processor inside of it. There's really no huge no technology jump.
The big leap that it's something in efficiency. So there's something weird about video card manufacturing. Where it's like if you just manufacture the chip, like essentially only like 10% of them are actually useful for a video card. So there's something that Microsoft does where they can use like 30% or whatever it is. They can use more of the chips they produce to actually put in the consoles, and they kind of just like overclock it because of like how their cooling system works. They can use less efficient ones to make it the same speed. So like randomly, you might have like the bet if you got the 10% one, you just have a naturally great video card, and if you don't, it's still gonna work just fine. So it's like so because they're saving money there, they can like have a high-end card that costs less to make. But there's not a whole lot of details other than they're definitely gonna do a solid state hard drive.
Well, yeah, that's the next logical percent.
So they're building things basically so that there will never be any loading times, or you'll barely notice them.
That's pretty much the only real hang-up right now.
Yeah.
Storage space is...
Well, yeah, because like loading times during the 360 were pretty good, and then when we got to the Xbox One and PS4, loading times came back in a big way.
But I mean, otherwise, like everything else is limited just by your internet connection speed more than anything else anymore. So I mean, graphics have really plateaued. I mean, you have better defined graphics and engines that work smoothly together, but that's really more of a design aspect. I don't think we've really reached a limit of like, oh, yeah, this video card definitely can't handle this, game. But at the same time, I mean, not platform. Just home console games aren't known for being the best, in the industry. That's always been the PC's thing. That's what you buy a gaming PC for. It's just like the best of the best.
But then you end up, like most companies build for the console.
Yeah.
And then there's only a special few companies where like it's like PC first, and it's like I'll never play this on a console because it's too hardcore.
I mean, I'm glad that Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out in like the first quarter of 2020.
Yeah.
I think basically is what they said, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that means it's still in the window of like it's gonna have a good, almost a year on the old console. I don't know if they'll port it over the new one or not, depending on sales.
I'm not sure if they will. But essentially, the promise of Scarlet is that you'll be able to play any Xbox game on it. Like the entire system legacy will be available to play on it.
I'm assuming through their streaming service thing that they have, or
they talked about it a little bit, but they didn't announce any pricing or anything like that, other than like it's out there and they have it.
Oh, okay.
Because Google Stadia came out and they did their thing, so Microsoft's kind of behind whatever they do, because Google already announced like a price point and everything that seemed like fairly decent for what it promises.
Well, I think so. I'm trying to think of like, because you definitely need like an actual like launch game with it. Still, that's still kind of a. I mean, would you agree that they still need like a? They're.
But who are you talking about now?
Xbox.
Okay.
Between the console wars, because it's still.
They're going to launch with the next. It's going to launch with the next Halo game.
Oh, okay. That's what I figured. It's either going to be Halo or the Gears of War game.
Yeah, well, there's Gears of War coming out this year. Gears of War 5 is coming out this year.
Back to coincide with that.
No, it's coming out this year. You got Gears of War 5. They have like a XCOM Gears of War coming out, which that'll probably be cool. And then they have Gears Pop, which is a Funko Pop Gears of War game. That seems really stupid.
Why?
It's for cell phones, so it's just...
I was going to say, because I thought it was pretty much... Because you know how Nintendo Switch does, like, hey, we can't make an actual game, or we don't want to spend the money and make an actual game of this series, so we just turn it into Dynasty Warriors with it strapped onto it. Because that's what they're doing with the new Persona game, where it's like, I was excited they announced a Persona game, because like, oh, they're going to put it on Switch, that'll be so awesome to play. And then it was like, oh no, it's a Dynasty Warriors Persona. Like, I have no interest in that shit whatsoever, and it's like, no, I'm good.
But yeah, there's no big like holy shit, this game coming out this year. But there's a lot of like indie stuff that looks super fucking cool. Like just its style. Like there's a lot of things that kind of look like Nintendo games. It's like this is coming to Xbox. This is fucking weird. There's one that was like it was like an RPG, but it looked like a kid's notebook. Like it animated like it was like a real life page, like unfolding, and like it was an RPG that looked fucking cool. It probably won't work, but it looked fucking cool as shit.
It's a good look to it, good aesthetic.
And then they showed some more of Cyberpunk 2077, and the big thing of the show was that Keanu Reeves came out because he's in the game.
And then he got called a beautiful human being, basically, by somebody.
I don't know, like he said something about the game being breathtaking, and an audience member heckled him kind of by saying, "You're breathtaking."
And then he won a free collector's edition copy.
Yeah.
And now there's a petition to name the 100% achievement trophy "You're breathtaking." So
yeah, that's and then they have Halo Infinite is announced for Scarlet and Xbox One, and then Gears 5 is coming out.
Wasn't Nintendo at E3 or?
Yeah, well they don't do like the big performance. They have like a video. It's called like a Nintendo Direct.
Oh.
So that's what they do every year. So like they have a section where they have like a big area where you can play their game.
Yeah.
So they probably had the biggest surprise because they announced that they're making Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I still didn't see what the other Smash characters were because they said they put like 4 or 5 up instead of.
They put some characters from Dragon Quest in it.
Oh.
And then Banjo-Kazooie. So I think one more, but I can't remember.
Well, because there was a meme going around this week about like, look, another sword character.
That's Dragon Quest
or whatever. It's like exactly.
Well, it's like it's one character that like you can put different what they call them echoes to represent all the different heroes of Dragon Quest. So it's like the same character, but there's like a move you do where it's like you like select a choice on the screen, like that's what your character does.
Oh.
And look kind of neat. And what else is Nintendo doing?
They have Borderlands 3.
Oh, that Animal Crossing's coming out. I've never played Animal Crossing, but I know people are in it.
I played it on GameCube. It was fun for a little bit.
I heard like it was the coolest one that seemed like it was the GameCube one because that one you could like dig up old NES games and actually play them.
Oh really?
Like you could like find ice climbers and they had the full game in the game.
I guess I never found that part. I just stuck to like I'll go fishing and sell this fish and decorate my house and shit.
And then a lot of games that people are impressed with was the new Doom game, Doom Eternal. That just seemed fucking awesome.
When's that one coming out?
I think September. It's coming out this year.
Oh, okay, good.
But it looked fucking awesome.
All consoles or just the main?
Yeah, all consoles, even Switch.
Okay. That was gonna be my next question because I know Doom went over pretty well with Switch.
Yeah.
So.
And then there's a sort of like a. It's not exactly a sequel. It's kind of like an expansion. It's Wolfenstein New Blood.
Oh, okay.
That looks pretty cool.
I mean, did they say anything more about like Luigi's Mansion 2 or any of that stuff?
Oh, Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming out, I believe, in July.
Okay.
And now you can play they have a thing called Gooigi. We have like a backpack full of gel, and you just like shit out this gel Luigi, and they call him Gooigi. So I immediately made the joke of Pooigi. So that's out there.
So apparently there's Super Mario Sunshining Luigi's.
Well, no, it's like you create a copy of yourself that's just this goo guy, and you basically like use them to be like T-1000. So if there's like spikes you can't walk on, turn to
Gooigi.
Kind of
a good puzzle solver, as in like he either is a proxy for you or he takes the dangerous shit for you.
Or it's like you can't cross the spikes, but Gooigi can just walk through them because he's just fucking.
Well, I imagine just like every other proxy thing, it's not gonna be able to jump or anything. It's just gonna be able to like walk.
I don't know, but there's moments where it looked like you can control both of them at the same time, and there's also other pictures where it's like as soon as you do Gooigi, like Luigi's like out of it, like he's like shit himself to sleep or something.
I like the Mario versus Luigi horrible, like morals memes.
I don't
Ever seen
remember.
those?
No.
What are the Mario Brothers' views on abortion? And Mario says life is sacred and we shouldn't interfere with God's plan. Luigi says yeetus that fetus. And that's the other one. What are Mario Brothers' views on sex before marriage? Mario says it is worth to wait for sex because the ultimate pleasure is living in God's kingdom in the afterlife. Luigi says, give her the cock, never in a wedlock.
That explains why Luigi's more popular with women.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always liked Luigi more than Mario, but I think that's just my tendency of liking somebody that's not popular over the popular person. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just horrible.
Did everybody see all the nice blow up of all the Toronto fans cheering on somebody fucking ruining their NBA career and shit during the finals?
Yeah, the Canadian crowds aren't seem great.
I mean, Canadians are known for being very hospitable and nice, but that wasn't very nice.
We're cheering the end of your career. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's the Titanfall guys are making a Star Wars game. So that sounds pretty cool.
I mean, I know that's a beta, but so far that was kind of disappointing.
Baldur's Gate 3.
That's a surprise.
From the guys who make Divinity Original Sin. There's a new Contra game.
Really?
Nostalgia, catch it.
Going to be a side scroller?
No. I mean, kind of, but it's in 3D. It looks really fucking weird. I don't even know who's making it. Keep being that Konami doesn't really make games anymore. Oh yeah, there's a new there's a fucking Avengers game.
Oh.
Which had a really terrible presentation.
Oh,
but I trust the people making it. It's just like the presentation they gave on it was terrible.
Is that like over the top one where it's like you're controlling 4 people fighting just a bunch of bad guys and shit?
No, that's Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Okay.
That's a new one coming out. This one is basically Avengers, but what if it was Uncharted?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Sounds interesting.
When's the Last of Us coming out?
That should be
this year. It should be in November.
I
believe so.
I mean, I'm hoping to buy it and play it and enjoy all of its awesomeness, but we'll see. I swear it was this year unless they pushed it back to early next year. Because the PlayStation or Sony or whatever announced that their console was coming out around the same time. No.
The only thing they did is they did an interview with who was it? Like IGN, where they like talked about what they wanted to do with the console, but they gave no specifics whatsoever. Well, I mean, they gave us specifics like we're going to have an SSD in it, so that's pretty much all they said. No price, nothing like that.
Well, it's nice, but just about everything has an SSD drive in it.
There's a new game that looks pretty cool by the guys that did Max Payne and Alan Wake. You ever played any of those games?
I played Max Payne. Alan Wake, I don't recognize.
And was it Quantum?
Quantum Theory, I think was there.
Yeah, that was their last. I didn't play that game, but I heard like bad things about it. But this one, it's called Control, and it looks pretty neat. You have one gun in the game, but it's like a gun that breathes, like not in a David Cronenberg way, more like in a it's like a blocky kind of thing, then it expands and it turns into different guns as you use it, but like the gun breathes.
Live the new flesh.
So that looks pretty cool. Oh yeah, Watch Dogs Legion. That looks kind of interesting.
I guess I didn't know there was another Watch Dogs game coming.
Yeah, it's not by the Watch Dogs team. It's a different team. It takes place in London, but it's like a future London, so it's like 15 years from now. But it's dealing in like kind of Brexit politics and shit like that.
Oh, okay, good.
There's no main character in the game. You like recruit anybody that's within the game. Like anybody you see, you can recruit and play as.
I want the stressed out, stay-at-home mom with the minivan. Is my main
Well, the fun one is when you play as an elderly woman who used to be an assassin for like MI5, and she's like getting up on people and like hitting him, shooting him in the back of the head, and just kind of like sauntering away, like her hip hurts.
You're the 9-year-old kid that screams.
I don't think there's kids in the game.
Damn it! No.
They usually don't put kids in open world game because you know people would do something horrible to them.
But it's not real life child violence.
Yeah, I like those arguments. Nobody really got hurt. It's like, no, you're a weirdo.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I'm really excited. That was a big one to me. Is Microsoft bought Double Fine Studios.
Okay.
That's Tim Schafer. You probably don't know either the new, but it's a big thing. He makes a lot of games I like, and so they're coming out with Psychonauts 2, which I was a big fan of.
Forever, I think.
Yeah. But I love the first Psychonauts. So
this
trailer didn't necessarily look that great. Like it didn't they didn't really show like its charm or anything like that. But I'm just gonna go in blind faith and say hope it's good.
I mean, I've supported a couple of Double Fine things on Kickstarter. They never came to fruition. They're not really complete games, but
that
like
space,
DF9,
yeah,
Space, and
because I did Massive Chalice and that one was pretty good.
Yeah, and I have that one too. So I mean, I like what Double Fine usually turns out. It just depends on if they go all the way with it or not recently, more than anything else.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of small games. Like I think the last one they did was Headlander, which was like an interesting concept, but not necessarily like a long game or anything like that. You literally played as a head, and you rocketed around, and you land on things and become robots and shit.
Oh, so you're like the control unit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what comes to mind. Oh yeah, There's a trailer. It's just a video, so there's no gameplay, but it's called Elden Ring. And this is by the From Software guys, the guys that do Dark Souls and stuff like that, with world building by George R.R. Martin.
Huh?
Is George R.R. Martin doing everything but working on his next book?
All he has to do is write 3 sentences down, and he's like technically did a consulting job.
Tom Clancy's.
And there's a Blair Witch video game, which kind of looks neat.
Finally.
That came out of nowhere. I guess that was a really big surprise because like at first it's like, oh, this is just some horror game. Like, what's this? And it started to pan out from like the forest, and you started to see like the Blair Witch symbol, and it was like, there's no fucking way they'd make a Blair Witch game. Why the fuck would they make a Blair Witch game? Okay, they made a Blair Witch game.
Get it?
So would I have to see one of the movies to get it though?
No, I mean there's a lot of touchdowns because there seems to be some mechanic with viewing things through a video camera.
Yeah.
And I think it looks like to be a lot of like a dying and resetting progress and like things change. So almost like, but I'm not sure. But there's a point where like you have a camera and there's a guy standing in the corner and you suddenly fall over dead. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised that because one of the last games I played through and played a lot besides the last Metal Gear game was that Alien Isolation, which was, for me that was a cool game. They never really followed up on that though.
No, that didn't really that wasn't really a big success for them. So.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great game.
It was a good game, but a lot of people said it was too long because it was like a 40-hour game of sneaking around.
I was like doing that for 2 months.
Like I didn't even finish that game, and you finished that game. And you usually don't play games that like take 40 hours to play.
No, I didn't. I even got the Stromo bonus. But that's because I'm also very interested in the subject. Like,
yeah,
they came out with like I don't know something.
I mean, Jesus Christ, if Newt can survive, little kid in a sewer system, I can't believe grown men can't play a game for 40 hours.
But there was a lot of repetitiveness, and that game had a weird saving system where you could really fuck yourself.
Yeah, that happened.
Because there'd be like you literally have to go to this console, and then you have to save. But like wherever a save point is, isn't necessarily like a safe area. Like enemies could just be around, so you could save with like the alien behind you. Reload your save, alien kills you every time you reload your save.
Yeah.
Like that can happen in that game.
Kind of buggy. I know there was something that really pissed me off with the androids attacking you mission. because it was hard to find. I don't know. There was some, the game mechanics in that game weren't perfect.
Yeah, but aesthetics were like spot on.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing looking game. It kept you coming back.
But like I can't remember who, I think it was like Creative Design or something like that. They have like an incredibly generic studio name, but like they do all like the Total War video games.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like they're branching out to do like something different from a real time strategy game. So, but it didn't really. I guess it didn't sell well enough for them to like justify doing more of it. So they just went back to doing Total War games. Although I hear the new one's really good. It's like Total War 3 Kingdoms. It's kind of based on like the...
It got some pretty shitty initial reception because the AI is pretty buggy and crappy, but eventually, turned around and people seem to like it.
Well, the thing that I heard people boast about is like how so you're not just like kind of going into battles and just like doing successive battles. There's like a whole kind of like relationship system that like, well, like you'll come out of a battle and like one of your generals now doesn't like the other general, and then like that'll like cause rifts and all that stuff. And I heard that stuff was really interesting.
I've seen some of that with respect to like, the rulers need to like give out gifts or promotions because they always like want something. They want a promotion. They want a different office. They want, like you said, they don't like this general anymore. It's supposedly if you like put them all in the same army, because you can have 3 different guys in the same army, that they keep fighting battles with each other, they'll eventually like each other more. They'll develop a bond and special abilities and stuff. And that part does seem really cool because that sounds like something they've had before in the past. They have had the dislike-like relationship, but the political system's never been anything that grand in the last games. But yeah, it seems really cool. I don't know when I'll be able to purchase it. I don't really have a lot of money right now floating around.
Yeah,
for $60.
I was thinking about it, but I didn't. So I went to like one of the various fucking RTS games I bought and never played. So now I'm finally playing Grey Goo, which is by the old Westwood guys. Which is all right, but there's some problems with that game. That wasn't fully bugged out. Because there's totally some missions where like you can lose the mission in like the first minute of the game if you don't like have your economy together like immediately. It's like, who the fuck would do this? And then there's like stuff where it's like you'd have to build like a really elaborate base in order to win the mission.
Yeah.
But like if you move a character or you reveal a certain part of the map, like this chain of events will just happen, and it's like now you have 5 minutes and you have to get everything in order to get all the way across the map through buildings and like giant armies, and like so you just like it was like really stupid. Like you have to like really keep a condensed thing so you didn't like accidentally reveal the map and like hit this end game in the fucking map. That was fucking stupid.
I thought they are billions.
Like a map reveal trigger that would just screw you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, did you want to look over here to see what's going on? Well, fuck it. Now you have 5 minutes to beat the mission. Or if you didn't reveal it at all, you could just spend like 2 hours building your base and like, all right, now we're ready to go.
I thought They Are Billions was kind of bitchy about that shit.
Oh.
Because now they introduced the giants and shit. If you trigger those, you'll just get fucked if you're not ready for them. Because it takes so much firepower to bring them down.
But yeah, there's 3 different races and they control slightly different. There's humans, there's this one aliens, and then there's the Grey Goo. The Grey Goo one, that was like wildly different from the rest of them. Because what you do is you just have this big pool blob thing, and you roll it over the resources, and then you just like start gathering resources, and the goo will just get bigger, and then you like split it off into different things. Like you can make soldiers out of it, or you can make another goo thing to like go find another like resource center. And so it's like instead of like having like one base, you can have like fucking 10 bases across the map that's just like splitting goo in half and shit like that.
Now, are those aliens or is that a nanotechnology?
It's a nanotechnology.
Okay, yeah.
It was human nanotechnology that went rogue.
Well, yeah. Grey Goo's always been the code for like humanity's end game when technology gets so advanced. It's like, oh, when we have the nano war, it's all Grey Goo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they named it that. So.
Oh, I guess I've never heard that term before. So
yeah, I didn't hear about it until I like saw this game, and then like somebody explained like, hey, that's what this title comes from. It's not just some stupid weird title. It has some meaning.
Yeah, that's Kurzweil stuff. Like what's the thing? the singularity.
Singularity, yeah.
That's Grey Goose. I think something that comes out of his TED Talks and stuff, or other people have talked about it. It's like, yep, that's in game. Would matter, no cohesiveness.
But yeah, so that was E3. So like I said, well, I guess I said this off the podcast. There was a lot of companies that didn't show up this year, so it seems like this is kind of a slowing down of E3, because companies are just going to do their own social interacting now. They don't need E3 to megaphone their like, hey, this game's coming out.
Yeah, if you're doing it all on the internet, you don't need to get distribution deals or stuff anymore.
Well, speaking of conventions that probably are dying off or died off, has the porn convention thing died off?
No, it's still around.
Oh.
It used to go hand in hand with CES. They do it at the exact same time in Vegas. Now I believe they're separated.
Well, because I just kind of figured, because as soon as you guys start or when you brought up, people stop attending because internet's very widely available. You can release stuff whenever you want. The cost of flying there, setting stuff up, and now it's like, who really buys porn on home video anymore? And you don't need distribution deals for that either anymore. It's just everything's on these websites or pay.
Well, now they're just selling sex toys to everyone.
Yeah. So it's just like, well, does that really need to exist anymore either? Because there's only so much...
see that the E3 is supposed to be a trade show. Now what it's trying to do is it's trying to be
Comic-Con.
Yeah, but what's the PAX?
Oh.
So, but PAX is better at being PAX than E3 is at being PAX. So.
Yeah, you went to one of those ones.
Yeah, I went to PAX South. That's where the first time I saw Grey Goo. They brought it there.
Oh, okay.
PAX probably would have been more fun had I not been there by myself, but got to see Giant Bomb panel and a bunch of other shit. Lost in a tournament.
Oh. It's like, you enjoy things by yourself. I mean, yeah, sometimes...
Well, no, it would have been funner if it wasn't standing in line with strangers that I wasn't really necessarily willing to talk to. Because...
People not avuncular and talkative
Well, I mean, it's not like they weren't talkative, but they were there with friends, so they're having a conversation. And even if I saw a bunch of jumping in points, it's like, oh, I can correct them on this. Like, they don't want that. I'm just gonna stand here and be silent.
See, at some point, I'd probably just snap from the silence and they probably said the guy's name over and over again. It's like, well, Tom, what they meant was just act like you've been part of the group the whole time. Just started you've done this ever since you were a kid, and we don't know you. Valid point. And then just wander off.
But that was the first time I played VR. That was really cool. Now it's kind of gone. Now I need to open up a room to play VR again. There hasn't really been any kind of really new games for VR.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of hype for that for a while, so
Well, they just came out with a new unit that's all inclusive. It's not connected to the PC or anything.
Oh.
And you can play fairly powerful games with it, and I think it's $500 or $400, but that's all in. That's you get the controllers and the headset and all that stuff. No, mine was fucking almost $1,000.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, it's just all in the unit. There's no wires and shit like that. So, because they have stuff like that where they basically you just put your cell phone in a thing,
yeah,
and then it'll do that. So this one is a bit more powerful than just throwing a cell phone in there.
See, I always thought the cell phone thing was just gimmicky and just meant more for just watching a video more than actually doing anything. Because it's just you literally.
Well, yeah, a lot of the games that do that is a lot of stuff where it's not you interacting. It's just you kind of looking at stuff as things happen.
Yeah, and that's.
But this one, it's you have controllers, you're playing. I think you can play Super Hot in it and stuff like that. And Super Hot VR is fucking awesome. Nathan played that.
I played that. I actually did that for more than 5 minutes. This is kind of cool. I like the arrow shooting one too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that game a lot. Just my arms got tired after.
Yeah.
But that's.
Yeah, I got. There was a game called Budget Cuts, and that was the first time I fucked up in something in VR. Because there was something I was leaning under a table, and then I went to reach for a table in VR that doesn't exist in real life and fell over.
Damn it, reality.
But no, yeah, at some point I'll have to do a VR thing again because
At the mixing room. But.
Well, yeah, it's just I realize it's a space thing, but also it's like, yeah, we don't really hang out.
Well, I made the space, but then it gets filled in with shit. That's not my fault.
Other shit.
Well, because we still haven't nailed down a time to do the Expanse, or you haven't got your Expanse.
I was gonna say 3 weeks from now, but
oh, okay.
Because I got the book now.
Oh, okay, so I better get to reading all more of that stuff now.
There's a player section, and that's all you guys have to read, and then I'm gonna read everything.
Okay, I just have to.
So if you go, I gave you some of the PDFs, and there's I forget what chapter it is. It'll say in there, but it's just the player section, and it's pretty much you guys just have to make choices, and then it just explains like how the die rolls work and stuff like that.
So we're just gonna dedicate like a whole podcast to that.
Yeah, we'll try.
Okay, I didn't know if we were just gonna like set aside like a Saturday or something to do it too, or what we were doing. So
we can do that off podcast.
No, I know. I wasn't.
When people have days off, so all the thieves listening to the show don't come and rob us or something.
I'm gonna leave my house at this address from this hour to this hour. The door in the back will be unlocked.
That fucking happens to people with like less information than that.
And I don't broadcast things enough. I know not to be dumb enough to be like, I'm going on vacation on Facebook for like a fucking week or shit like that. Like,
cool. What do you want me to steal from your house?
But at the same time, yeah, I don't really think about that because I only have private conversations with people over the phone or in person, and not like broadcasting shit to people. Because mostly when people ask me what I'm doing on my weekend, I'm like, nah, not much. Even if I got a bunch of shit going on, I'll be like, yep, it's the weekend. That's all.
So I'm sitting in the house on a folding chair in front of my door with a shotgun. It's gonna be my weekend.
If you really want to get rid of him fast, it's like, well, I was planning on furiously masturbating to your face, but your expression right now is kind of glum. Could you, pick it up a little bit, be more happy, sexual, like you have a secret. Like,
what you doing this weekend? What's your wife's name? That'll change the tone in a hurry.
But yeah, it's like all you guys need to do is read that player section and then create a character. That's pretty much all you need to do.
Okay. Are any of the miniatures I bought you gonna come in handy, or are we not gonna?
I don't think there's necessarily a game board.
Okay. I didn't know if there was or not because every other like Pathfinder and D&D and Conan I've ever
yeah, they
seen
kind of
there's
like come with like a grid
yeah, there's
thing.
like a hex grid thing, yeah. So.
But like yeah, there doesn't seem to be a hex grid thing. I think it's pretty much just all storytelling.
Oh, okay.
There is like missions, so there is like I forget what it's called. It's like the Ganymede job. Like I think that's like the first mission in the game. And then I think there's supposed to be more to come, but that was the one in there. I read one of the short stories that they wrote for it. It was on the forward of the book. Yeah, what was I came up with a character name, and now I'm trying to think what the fucking is. Fuck.
Just a forewarning, I'm probably gonna have the shittiest character name ever, and I don't really do a very good.
Oh, it's James Dresden. That was the character name I came up with. I have no stats or anything for him, but his character name is James Dresden.
Giles Fink.
Just Bob.
It's all like it's an acronym, but he never tells his actual name. That's my first, middle, and last name, Bob.
Maybe I'll just do a Warhammer, or there's a.
Well, there are like pre-created characters in the book.
Yeah.
If you want to use one of those.
I have enough imagination.
I should just name him something very, or not. I guess him or her. I don't know why the hell I'm just like naming genders already. But no, just name him something very auspicious right off the bat. It's like Mecha Hitler or something. Just something really stupid and weird. It's like
Herbert always dies.
It's like I'm naming him Brutus. Like why? It's like
for Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
My character is Robbie Hitpoint. Joe Charisma.
And then I believe I'll be the game master. That's what they call it. That's the generic term for it.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously not dungeon master, and I think space master sounds kind of ridiculous.
What would we come with, the quartermaster or something like that?
Yeah, that'd actually be pretty decent. Actually, that would be a pretty good
That would
title.
work. That's a naval term.
Yeah.
Most of this would happen on ships, unless you just want to be like 3 guys living on Earth on basic. Be doing today. Great.
We're gonna
saving throw.
All for charisma.
It's not rape if you have high enough charisma.
Yeah.
I'm on basic. I'm gonna roll to see if I get up out of bed today. No.
Which drugs am I gonna do?
What's for dinner? Soy square.
That'd be pretty funny, but also uneventful adventure.
Yeah, just like adventures in poor people of the future. It's like, how meaningless is my life?
The high point is just furiously masturbating as the UN Marines chase down Bobby Draper in the background.
No,
We're taking lots on when this bitch is die.
I just rolled
Throw in your food chip.
I just rolled D20 to see if I finally pull out a revolver and kill myself on basic, or how many hours I stare at the wall during the day.
But like make a character and then look at the ship choices. See what ship you want, because I believe that's a choice you make too.
Oh, we each get a ship, or we get to share a ship?
We share a ship.
Okay.
We're a crew.
I guess I didn't know if there's, because sometimes they have like starting amounts or whatever, like as far as resources and stuff like that. So I didn't know if we already were assigned a ship for the mission or something like that. So I want the Mars class assault free.
Just have our own Rocinante.
Yeah.
We happened upon this freighter with Gatling guns and rail guns and shit. Or PDC cannons.
Salvage.
It's legitimate salvage.
An ore hauler, but it's like, oh yeah, we have the gravity motion weapon too somehow. Wait, this is the wrong era for that. Shh.
This is where it started.
Yeah. This is how it happened. I know this is wildly entertaining for everyone listening to this.
Yeah, we're talking about The Expanse. If you didn't know,
all of it, yeah. And we're doing inside the room stuff and basic or stuff that like most people probably missed in the books or watched the TV show, I guess.
Did you watch the Dr. Sleep trailer?
Oh,
yeah, that's weird.
When I saw the advertisements for that on Reddit, it just said Dr. Sleep in the movie poster. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go check this out because it's a new movie trailer. And then I was like, oh, fuck, okay. This actually has an actor I would actually watch. And then it's like, oh, fuck, this is off The Shining. It's like more just like, okay, it just keeps growing. And it's like, I'm really interested now. This is going to be either really horrible.
I was not expecting so much, what do you call it, nostalgia for Shining.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it kind of seems like, ooh, this can be done right, but this kind of looks like it's a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah, that is possible. I don't know. It's a good book.
Yeah, because I thought I heard you said it was good, but
yeah, it's.
But as we found out, most people don't follow what Stephen King writes when they make movies out of it. So.
No, including Stanley Kubrick. It's like, well, this is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, not Stephen King.
Yeah, because this is like more referencing all the Stanley Kubrick shit. So.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a movie. So, yeah.
Because I was just gonna ask if it was a short story or movie or actual full book.
Oh, it's full. It's shit. How big is that book? I think that might be one of his 600 pages.
Is it coherent 600 pages or?
Yes, scary bad people, and it's good. They did a good job.
Can you come off the movie and read that book, or do you really need to read the book Shining to get into that?
531. I'm guessing if filmmakers are good, probably just watch the movie.
No, I mean, like, say I watched The Shining, and then I wanted to read Dr. Sleep. Is that a viable approach, or should I have read the book The Shining and then read Dr. Sleep?
You can watch the Kubrick The The Shining. The Shining book is cool, and there's nothing wrong with it, and it's it would bridge nicely with Doctor Sleep. Yeah, but there's no references in that book that like, oh, I needed to read the other book.
Okay.
If you're familiar with the basic guy, because this is just Danny Torrance as an alcoholic, miserable adult. That Doctor Sleep is. So if you've done that, then watch the movie. It's fine. You can read the book too. The original Shining's kind of cool, but it's like the movie's a more concise and enjoyable version of that. But there's a lot of things that are in the book that aren't in the movie, and the characters are kind of have different motivations. But yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay. Because like, usually Stephen King doesn't do sequels to stuff unless it's because usually that's what he has the Dark Tower series for.
Yes.
Usually he doesn't do sequels to things.
Yeah, I think this was one of those like properties that he felt. He's got like 2 books coming out this fall, I think.
Well, I mean, considering I was a big fan of all his older work, I've never read The Shining, but everything else like Cujo, Carrie, Misery, or It, and stuff like that. Like, I was kind of really disappointed in the Gunslinger in the first part of Shadow Tower. It had parts that were captivating, but just a lot of stuff where it's like, well, this makes no goddamn sense, and I'm really not looking forward to reading any more of it. And so I was hoping it wasn't just like, oh yeah, if you pick up any of his new stuff, it's just gonna be a bunch of like, yeah, I used to do drugs, and now I sound actually less sane when I'm, sober and don't do drugs and shit.
I'd say a good refresher is 11/22/63. Like that's it's just a good book.
Oh, okay.
And there's not really too much crazy shit in other than time travel.
Well, it's not so much crazy shit; it's the way he writes the crazy shit.
Yeah. No, this one's like pretty straightforward. This kind of just seems like how you think of Shawshank Redemption, like how he does like more normal stuff.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like I've never picked up a Stephen King book and be like, I'm just gonna have a totally sane time with no jarring moments at all. Like, no, that's never happened.
There's kind of seems to be a mode where he really wants to get like a feeling across, and then sometimes all he wants to do is put imagery in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I want you to read this book and go to bed with nightmares. And then sometimes he just tells a good story. It has good characterizations and all that stuff.
No, that's.
But like, I think a lot of what makes 11/22/63 is that the right date? I feel like I'm getting it wrong.
I think so, but yeah.
Go
ahead, I'll look.
It's because like it's almost like it's a nostalgic time for him because like he grew up around that time.
Yeah.
So it's like basically him bathing in nostalgia for that time, but also having an interesting JFK. We're trying to stop the JFK assassination shit going on.
No, that's the kind of things I appreciate about his books or authors in general. It's somebody that, I mean, they might be telling a familiar story or a familiar time period, but they have a unique and interesting take on it, or at least a way to make the reader feel like it's an interesting take. Like,
oh yeah, it felt like he essentially just like described his childhood, and you were there. So.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, there's a lot of writers that have really good books that I would never read a fucking book of theirs because they can't write worth shit. And it's like, why is this a popular book and why is it ever enter the mainstream? Like it was The Outsiders. That book's horrible, but it's fucking one of the golden like Pony Boy and shit.
Yeah,
like
that was kind of like a young adult novel. It was
well, like Great Gatsby, like love the movie, the book sucks. Like I fucking don't like F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Okay.
So, I mean, I get the point of the book. I get what happened during the book. But
have you tried reading For Whom the Bell Tolls?
No, I have not tried reading.
It's a pretty good book.
Yeah. Yeah, Hemingway, that's one of his best books.
I found that one really interesting just because like I just don't really know anything about the was it Spanish Civil War?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this is like just before World War II.
Yeah.
And it has like a very kind of modern feel to it. That's like odd.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also just written just before World War II, before World War II happens.
Yeah.
So like it has kind of like a weird like foreboding sense to it that maybe wasn't there when it was initially written, but it's there now. And it's just great lyricism in the writing by Hemingway. So
yeah. No, I mean, there's.
And it's about a guy who just needs trying to blow up a fucking bridge. So yeah, I would suggest For Whom the Bell Tolls.
All right.
Yeah, we talked about it on
But I think Dan from Giant Bomb recently, like he read Great Gatsby. He's like, because he's recently been getting into reading.
Oh, okay.
He's like, he never really read books before, even though he's an author of like 8 books. He never really read books before.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, go buy Air Force Gator and Air Force Gator 2.
Air Force Gator.
Yep.
Oh.
Fucking hell.
And he wrote some book about wrestling. He wrote some book and just to spite Jose Canseco.
That's the best. That's the best books ever out of spite.
Then he wrote kind of like a like I'm not a medical expert, but here's how it works for me. A book called Anxiety as an Ally, and it's basically about him dealing with his anxiety disorder.
Oh, okay.
And then I actually bought one of his books called The Dumbest Kid in Gifted Class, which was pretty good. Which is basically about what it is, him growing up being the dumbest kid in gifted class.
Is he writing those books though?
Yes, he's writing them.
Okay. That was
Well, he wrote video game reviews for a long time, so he knows how to like throw together like 500 words in a day. So.
Well, I mean, I kind of guess I didn't even think about that when I was thinking about his ability to write a novel, but at the same time, it was just like that. I didn't know if that would translate with him never reading a book that much before.
Well, I mean, that's a big. When he says things like that, it's exaggerated, and like, you never read this before. It's like, oh yeah, I read that.
Oh.
But yeah, so he read like The Great Gatsby, and he really liked that. So, and yeah, and also Dan, during E3, he had a friend who works for The Simpsons, and he got to go see a live reading of a script for The Simpsons, and there's a bunch of people like that he works with who are big fans of the guest person there that day, which was Werner Herzog.
Oh, okay. Interesting guest for that.
So he gets a picture of Werner Herzog. He's like, "Hey, bro, look who I met." And it's just, and there's all these response videos like, "You motherfucker," because Dan just ends up just looking into things that he doesn't deserve.
Yeah.
Like he did like a comedy show for his college, and he did something where like he shot some video for is it George Clinton and the Parliament Funkadelic? Is that the
Yep.
And so like George Clinton is in like his college like sketch show videos because he shot some video stuff for him when they came to the college to play.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And so like one of the people he's working for is Danny O'Dwyer, and he does video game documentaries. And then Danny's talking to like one of his like producers, and they're like, "Guess who Dan met?" He's like, "He's one of our heroes or controversial people in our field." And he's like, "You mean Werner Herzog?" He's like, "You bet it." It's like, I'm not happy. I'm just angry. So that was funny. A funny little bit to E3 that happened this weekend.
Well, we watched a movie this week in our movie of 99 series that we're doing. We watched the 1999, of course, Cider House Rules, which I watched Friday. And I had never seen this before.
Okay, yeah, me neither.
And I have not read the book. And
okay, we're all ready to go then.
Yeah, we're primed. I'm trying to gauge my reaction to this. This looks like a movie like shot in like, it's almost like from the 50s. Like it has a great look and a cool soundtrack, but like the story is fucking weird and dark and miserable. And
but everyone's kind of like, oh shucks, 1950s.
Yeah, that's still. I mean, okay, we'll just go into spoilers. I'll just talk about the scene that shocked me the most. It's probably going to be the one that shocked everyone, but we're just going to jump ahead here because, if you want to watch this movie, watch it, and then come back and listen to our nonsense. But the thing that grabbed me the most was when Delroy Lindo and Homer, who was played by
Tobey Maguire.
We're talking, and he's like, "Are you having sex with your daughter?" And Delroy Lindo's kind of like, "Yeah, you got me." You know, it's like it's still low key about what. And I was like, "Oh fuck!" What? Because this movie's about. There's three things here. It's miserable, horrible orphanage, and this sweet old man who's
Michael Caine.
Who's you know, because what's the famous line of this? Like, "Good night, you
princes of Maine, you kings of New England."
Yeah. So that's like everyone. All these kids, they're unwanted orphans. A lot of them. There's some of them are dying, and this guy's this doctor that runs this orphanage, and I think this is set in what, the 30s or 40s.
Well, World War II is going on, so it's like
like
42.
Yeah.
But and so everyone seems like it's kind of like decent and sad. It's like, oh, this is like real Grapes of Wrath type storytelling. And then there's abortion and incest and abortion and then people having affairs and really awkward, weird ones. Because I didn't know until I saw her. It's like, oh, Charlize Theron's in this. Okay, this is.
And Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
It's really a fantastic cast movie. Like, it's not.
I did a little bit of reading on this because after I watched this movie, I had to take a beat. And it's like, okay, I got to find out about this movie because this movie seemed weird from top to bottom.
What I thought was interesting seeing this for the first time is that if you watch the trailers, like, you just assume the entire movie is at the orphanage.
Oh no!
And I had no idea where like the title came from. Like, I had no idea. It's like, oh yeah, the middle of the movie, he's gonna be picking apples at an apple orchard and living with some black people. And that was never in the trailers whatsoever.
And it what was I gonna say? I lost my thought there. But like, yeah, this movie's about heady issues and people's kind of weird, vaguely almost emotional reactions to things that are going on. And
well, there seems to be like a very blasé. Like, I remember like when the one kid who has the breathing problem, like you just like, oh, they just buried him, like he's dead now. And then like you know, and then like when they're burying him, they're done, and like it's just like, okay. And then like he goes back and he tells the kids like, yeah, he got adopted by a family. And then you see Michael Caine like breaking down outside. Like, it's like, but like, oh, he's always keeping a good face on. But then, you know, when he goes on his ether binge, is like, oh, this is really taking a toll on him. And that's the only time in the movie where you get to see like a toll taken on people.
Yeah, and it's weird. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say, the Homer Wells, the main character in this movie, played by Tobey Maguire, they asked 20 people to be in this. There was a bunch of people. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
They were even talking about doing
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck too.
Well, yeah, probably. I didn't read them. The one that was weird was the guy we just did the movie, Matthew Broderick.
Oh yeah, because it was like in development for like 10 years, and what was it, Matthew Broderick and who?
Well, it was Matthew Broderick and who else did I say?
Jake Gyllenhaal, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, no, I mean, like, there's supposed to be Matthew Broderick versus like they had a different Michael Caine. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, that was shit. I can't remember that one now. I knew I'd drop it on that one. Yeah, because there was a bunch of different people that were supposed to be in this. I forget who was going to play the Michael Caine character, but
I'll look it up.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up.
I'm gonna guess Burt Reynolds.
I thought it was weird that J.K. Simmons showed up in this as like the lobster guy, which I was like not expecting to see him. I didn't know he was in this at all. Well, there was a few people I didn't know were in.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. Yeah, I wasn't expecting.
Well, I mean, for how long this thing was in development and who they got, I think it was a really solid cast of movie though. So, I mean, you don't expect to see Paul Rudd in this movie. Not that he's in it for like a long period of time. Charlize Theron's like an amazing get, and no way in hell would she ever fuck Tobey Maguire. I don't care how many abortions he's done. He's not. But
no, well, that seemed like a really stilted romance.
It was going to be Matthew Broderick and Max von Sydow.
Yeah, Max von Sydow. That's right.
Who's Max von Sydow?
He's the main guy in The Exorcist and every other weird movie you can think of.
Oh, okay.
He's like,
know him, you saw him.
He's like an imposing German guy who kind of always looks old.
As soon as he said Exorcist, I had pictured who he was because I was just like, thinking of like Max von Sydow.
He was in what was the fucking future crime movie?
Oh,
Minority
Report.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was the head guy.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't think that would have been bad casting. Well, Matthew Broderick would have been. I fucking hate that guy.
But that was also supposed to be like, you know, that would have been early '90s, like when that was supposed to be cast that way.
I know, but I don't like Matthew Broderick. I don't think he's a very good actor. I mean, he's good on theater and stuff like that. I don't think he's. Besides Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that's probably the only movie I like with him in it.
Yeah.
But
and then he's intentionally supposed to be hateable in Election, so.
No, I hate that movie. I'll watch it again for sake of reviewing it.
Oh, we already went through it, so you're good.
No, I know. I'm just saying, it's like yes, there's
that movie. We're completely balked by the statutory rape immediately in the beginning of the movie.
That's because the book was written in '85, and they immediately started optioning it for like, what kind of movie can we make? And yeah, it just never happened. And then when they made it, and this movie was like on the short list for like the Academy Awards, and
yeah, I think it won for best writing.
Won for screenplay, and
or best adapted screenplay.
Because Irving, the author of the book, wrote the screenplay.
It also was nominated for most abortions on screen, but but lost.
Well, that's one thing. Like, it's one of those movies you watch it now, and you realize, well, they'd never make this movie now because just some of the subject matter. But then you realize it's like, oh yeah, people having to get abortions like this, it's coming back in America. We're going back. This kind of rips things from the headlines.
Yeah, because there's that one girl that like somebody shoved a crochet needle in her and bled to death.
Yeah, it was.
And they just bury her, and it's like, oh.
I like how people are just buried in this. Just like, yeah, dig them up, dig a hole. But yeah, that's one thing. Like, if this movie was shot and acted bleak, I probably would have liked this. But it's the chipper optimism set aside, and not just Tobey Maguire. I know a lot of people don't like him as an actor. I think he's fine. But it's the kind of the weird, I don't know, the direction of the movie and how I don't know if were the actors not given any guidance, or was that something they were going for? Because the tone of the book is not, it's, I mean, just to read it, it's dour, but it's like people have weird smiles on their face, and it's just horrible shit going on.
Well, I don't know if that's supposed to be like repression, if that's supposed to be an element of you're supposed to be reading into it. It's like people shouldn't be happy, but they're all hiding something.
If it was, I totally blew by me. It just seemed bizarre to me. It's like, what is this? Oh, and Paul Rudd looks exactly the same in this movie as he does now, which is also weird.
He's a pilot doing the Burma runs, which didn't our grandpa, was it?
Yes,
that's what he did.
Stuff in Indochina and Burma. Yep. Got to get some pictures of his plane, because H&M Models makes a $400 Mitchell bomber kit, and if I could find out exactly what model his plane was and what the nose art was, I know people, we could make it. 4-foot wingspan. Anyway, off subject.
No, I mean, it's a worthy topic to pursue, but yeah, I mean, $400 is a hell of a lot of money for. I mean, I'm assuming it's pretty big scale for.
It's big scale. It's also super high quality. It's like it's almost easy. Like the Millennium Falcon is like, that's a great looking model. Yeah, it was easy. Wasn't a lot of work involved. Like, that was a great model, and I just did my thing with it, and it worked. But anyway, Paul Rudd doesn't age, and that's weird.
It is weird, like you get the thing where like, oh, he's been hurt, and it's like, oh, now he's crippled, but you never see him again.
No, it's just talked about.
It's like that's too much. We can't show that in this movie.
Well, I mean, yeah, they showed him in like the wheelchair, like one's covered with a blanket, I think.
Oh, did they? I didn't remember that.
Well, I mean, they show him, but yeah, it's not like a huge like this is this day in day life now. Yeah, there's no, it's just him at a distance. But at the same time, back to your thing, Nathan, about like them being like more upbeat than they should be. Maybe it's just trying to like the movie just being like, yeah, as fucked up as their day-to-day life is, it's just normal, so they're okay with being happy for no reason, or whatever. I mean, yeah, Tobey Maguire kind of always, like, there's some times in Seabiscuit where he kind of pulls off being angry at the world and kind of pissy. I wouldn't say he does that a lot in this movie. He does get serious at points. But yeah, he does. He always seems kind of more upbeat than he should for a kid that basically learned to do abortions and surgery and, you know, under some old man's wing, and then has to do it just to people that randomly fuck their daughters or anybody that walks in a door.
See, that's when I started liking the movie, though, was when there was conflict between him and the doctor about, you know, this is immoral. This is killing children. Like, they really, it's like, oh, there's conflict. And it's like, well, I'm going to go pick apples with the migrant laborers. And then it's almost, it's like it comes up again, but the conflict never comes back to the character. And that, again, that's something that just, I don't know. What the
it's like, he's like, yo, I don't care if you perform abortions, but I'm not going to perform abortions. And, like, he's taking a stand there. And then Michael Caine's are like, well, you haven't met the real world. You haven't seen the evil of people yet. Like, you'll know this is, like, a good thing.
Right.
Or this is preventing worse damage to be done. And then, like, that's when it's like, hey, here it's incest. It's like, are you okay with it now? Is that your, like, top of the line? Like, now that's the line? And it was for him.
And it was, but again, this cathartic thing never happened with the character. It was just like, okay, go to this, go to this, go to this. It's like, rape your daughter. Yeah, I did. Okay, now we must abort. And then, you know, your daughter kills you, which she should have, and, you know, or stabs him, and then he, like,
stabs himself to try to make it look like he killed himself.
Yeah, the suicide by liver stabbing, which is like, oh, that's totally Japanese of you. That's like a horrible slow death. Okay. But I guess, yeah, this movie, for the cast and for the subject matter, is totally off-putting just based on the weird performances. I did not like the weird performances in this movie. And I wanted to give it a chance because it's like, as soon as it started, I don't know. I mean, it just should have been more bleak. I mean, somebody should have been by a tree crying with their hand on it. Something.
Okay,
well, I mean, that girl did. She was crying at the grave.
That's true.
Okay, so, sorry. This movie was made in 1999, so let's say, just to throw the casting up in the air and make it totally oddball, the lead is Homer, Haley Joel Osment. You know, just to be young enough to, you know, be really jarring, but not old enough to be, like, having sex with Charlize Theron. So her character...
abortionist.
Yeah. And then, as Michael Caine's character, Danny DeVito.
Well, now this is just becoming Patch Adams with abortions.
So Danny
now
DeVito...
we're just moving into farce.
Danny DeVito takes Haley Joel Osment under his wing to perform abortions.
You gotta get in there. No, Homer, you gotta.
And then we'll do a Sixth Sense tie-in because then he sees all the babies he aborted. Nobody else does. I see dead babies.
Okay, but
this is how God punishes you.
As much as I love Charlize Theron and I love her in a lot of movies she's in, and she's a great actress, Minnie Driver performs her role. More as a mother figure, plus, you know, times I think she'd do a better job as a dark actress in that movie. She'd be the one dark element you can keep in there. Paul Rudd, because Paul Rudd's fucking awesome. Just keep Paul Rudd. Or
but
better
he
yet,
went in that man's suit for no reason.
or better yet, just cast Will Ferrell. Just for so.
No. I got it. We cast. Fuck. What's his name? The guy who was like Corky Romano.
Chris Kattan.
Yeah, Chris Kattan.
Chris Kattan is the fighter pilot. Okay. Chris Kattan is the fire pilot for more.
This is his one movie role where people take him seriously, and he plays it all wacky and fucks it up.
Flying the plane, eating fruit like Monkey Boy, and flies apart.
So we actually have more time with him doing that kind of shit in a plane, just to break up the pacing a little bit and not make it so depressing. But
then of course, Eddie Murphy as Mr. Rose.
or Martin Lawrence. I mean, it's interchangeable.
And he also plays Rose.
No, make his daughter a white girl to make it even more offensive and bizarre.
Just make it Damon Wayans in the white girl makeup. Make it Damon Wayans in the white girl makeup.
Yeah.
Make it really jarring, and it's like, I don't know if I'd fuck that, even if it was the only thing around for miles. I'd probably just stick my dick in an apple.
Did you have sex with her? Man, why would I fuck that bitch? Yes!
and then just have were any of the nurses that work there, were they named actors at all?
Yeah, the one he kind of has a relationship. She's been in a bunch of shit.
Okay.
Yeah, what's her name?
So I remember recently what was that show, The Division, with the guy from Lost, where it's like the aliens take over the world?
Fuck.
It's something like The Division or some shit like that.
Kathy Baker.
Yeah.
Was one of the nurses. That's another weird break I like in this movie, like because when Tobey Maguire's at the cider, or the apple farm, the cider house, I like how Michael Caine is like doing Homer fan fiction for the kids, and taking ether and dancing with the nurses, and then we cut back to the cider house like in time has passed. One of the problems with this movie is it seems to have a great scope of time that, like, oh, maybe this should have been like an HBO miniseries or something, where it's just stopped at one episode and picked up and time had passed. Because one of the things they did in this movie is I wasn't sure how much time was passing, when and where. And then it started off with narration, and then there was no narration, and which I thought we'd have a narrator. I thought this was going to be this kind of struck me as like initially when I saw this is like, oh, this is going to be like Shawshank Redemption. It's like there's going to be a story, there's going to be this narrative voice, and then there's going to be people doing things. But it seems like they kind of dropped that, and then they split all the characters up, and then there was passages of time and things happened, and nobody.
Tobey Maguire becomes an illegitimate doctor at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he adopts. Yeah.
Back, the only time in existence where to be a doctor, you just needed experience.
And forged documents.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he's told all his life he has a heart condition. That's why he wasn't in fighting in World War II. And he finds out that's not real. Which you think that would be, again, here's a cathartic moment for the actor and the character. Nope.
Because I thought maybe that was built into like why he's not so reactionary to things, because he
thinks there's a clock running in the back of his head. Yeah,
it's like that's a safety mechanism. He can't get too hyper about anything, or he might die.
Well, that, and when you've got a shot clock in your head, like, oh, I'm going to die very young, it's kind of like, well, how much do I want to invest emotionally in things? But instead, he comes across almost more as the guy in Nightcrawler. Like,
well, Jake Gyllenhaal and him are very interchangeable. That's why I kind of laughed when he said Jake Gyllenhaal is up for the role, and I'm like, of course he was.
Oh yeah, they fought for roles, because I think like what was it, the Ice Storm?
Oh,
I think like Tobey Maguire got that part in that movie, and like Jake Gyllenhaal's up for it. It's like, who's gonna die in an electrical thing while sledding down an ice hill first? Jake Gyllenhaal or Tobey Maguire?
We're gonna fight for it
in the middle of a key party.
I mean, I don't think Tobey Maguire's
cool movie.
I don't think Tobey Maguire's done anything recently, has he?
Well, he did that Great Gatsby movie.
Oh yeah, he did do that.
I can't remember. He did something.
Favorite novel.
No, I love that movie. I don't know why. That movie is fantastic. Like, it's wonderfully shot. The visuals of that movie are impressive. The story is actually cohesively done from what I thought was a book that was. I may have just didn't read it thoroughly enough, or didn't take the time to care about it enough because it was.
No, it's a weirdly written book. There's a reason, because I learned, because I read it for school or something, and like there's a reason it's kind of a classic novel of its time. But yeah, there's some really weird logic in The Great Gatsby that, like, oh, we're just doing this to force the story along.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of off-putting to people, but yeah, it's a great book, but it's I mean, it's a book written by an alcoholic, so those are always, that's most books.
Yeah, it looks like Tobey Maguire hasn't done a lead role since Great Gatsby.
And that was like, what, 10 years
2013.
Ago? Okay, so yeah, it's been a little while. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal.
I mean, he made enough money; he doesn't have to. So
no, I know. Pure... It's not like I'm blaming him. It's like, why are you fucking lazy fuck? You haven't done anything for. No, it's just something where I'm sure, because he's in like his fucking late 30s now, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's definitely at that age range. You can't play a young
I mean, this
person.
movie was 20 years ago, so he's probably 40s.
Well, I mean, he can't play a young person anymore, and he kind of just seems like a wrong archetype for like a grizzled dad.
Yeah.
Because he's just too young and too like happy go get full type look. in appearance and manners and all that.
Oh, he's my age, like 43.
Well, I just don't see him doing like Jake Gyllenhaal and Nightcrawler and totally turning, because like I think that was a big turning point for Jake Gyllenhaal's career, because it just showed he didn't have to play just like Tobey Maguire's
Well, I mean,
character type.
I don't know, like fucking Donnie Darko was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But
we got to remember, right after this, he got Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was this then Spider-Man, and then that's just a cash bonanza. And then after that, it's like, well, if you're smart with your money, you don't have to do this shit all the time, and that's probably the choice he made.
And I don't even know if he has kids, so maybe he's just like raising his kids or something like that. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's just something where I think he could do, good work as an actor still, because I don't think he's a bad actor. I mean, he's been in good movies. I mean,
I know, like, I don't hate him in anything, but I'm not necessarily excited to see him in anything either. It's like, oh shit, it's Tobey Maguire. Let's pass on.
Well, plus I have no idea if he's into like producing or directing or anything.
Oh, maybe I can look it up again.
Because I'm sure he's probably produced something.
Yeah,
I know one of the hinges that this movie and also the book went around on is, what are the cider house rules? And some people were saying, like, well, the cider house rules are kind of, number one, all the migrant workers in this are kind of illiterate, or they all actually are illiterate. So there were rules written on the door, and but no one could read them until Tobey Maguire came along. And I know it was supposed to be like a hinge of the story, but I kind of find I looked them up, and I kind of found the cider house rules to be practical. I'm going to read a few of them. Please don't operate the grinder or the press if you've been drinking. Okay, it's common sense. Please don't smoke in bed or use candles. That makes sense. There was all kinds of weird things about the roof. Don't go on the roof if you've been drinking, and don't go on the roof if you're going to fight.
Or don't go on the roof if you're going to sleep.
Yeah, or no more than 12 people on the roof. No, it said don't sleep in the freezer. So, and there were a few more, but I was like, I know that that's the title of the book, and that's supposed to be like, oh, this is the one who, this is the thing that the logic that it all turned around.
Well, because like Mr. Rose has a whole thing is like, we didn't write those rules, so I thought that was a whole like abortion algorithm, like because like at this time, giving abortions is illegal at this time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a whole thing that was wrapping in that, like, we didn't write these rules or whatever, something like
Fucking
that.
your daughter was the greatest, but.
Yeah. So anyway, weird movie. Watch it for, in my opinion, weird movie based on the performances.
Well, this is probably like one of the heights of Miramax.
Yeah.
Because I think the year before this is when Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture over fucking Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Never seen that movie still, but yeah.
Yeah, me neither. And so they have this movie, and then also like last week's movie, they released Princess Mononoke here, and we've watched a couple other Miramax stuff for this feature.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're pretty for a
Malkovich, was that a Miramax?
Yeah. So like for a fairly like small independent, kind of an independent production company, like they did a lot of shit this year.
Oh yeah, this was kind of the golden age of Harvey Weinstein, and he practically had his own space at the Oscars. It's like, every year, come on in, Harvey.
Oh yeah, and they did
found out, like all our favorite movie producers / people, sex monsters and weirdos, and
but
yeah, like they did Dogma this year too. It was released. It was released under Dimension because for what do you call that? Fucking protest reasons.
Yeah, well, a lot of the Miramax stuff was with those weird co-pros, because like they did what was the other one for this year that was Talented Mr. Ripley. I don't know if you've seen which is kind of a cool movie, but that was actually a Miramax thing, but it was actually somebody made it, and then somebody made it and produced it, and somebody had distribution rights. I don't know what it was, but yeah, they had their hands in a lot of pies, or their fingers in a lot of pies this year, and really, that was a constant thing with them. They knew how to pick like indie sub films and then major films, and it's like Oscar time.
Find some British production and like, hey, let's put one American actor in it and release it in America.
This is what you're gonna do for me. Harvey Weinstein calls because he was a wonderful human being.
And he's like, "Find me a houseplant."
Yeah. Well, it's all those guys that are like super brilliant, except for like Einstein is the only one I know, and that's probably because they didn't publicize it. But people that are like as good as Harvey Weinstein, like watch out, because there's a dark side to that brilliance, and it's always going to come out. And with him, it was just being sex psycho. I don't know what you call that.
Pervert, just pervert.
Yeah,
a pervert with power and opportunity.
Yeah, okay, maybe a pervert with opportunities. Because when I read those stories, I'm like, who the fuck does that and why? How's that even sexy? It's like, I'm gonna jerk off into a plant. Why? You just can't get it together.
You're the plant. It's symbolism. Okay, Harvey.
Gotta have power over everyone. Why? Well, you're rich and you're making great movies, or you're
producing.
He does produce birthing.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen a lot of things too recently where he's the one that torpedoed a lot of shit in that time period too. Like turned movies that could have.
Oh yeah, there's we don't have to give Harvey Weinstein any credit now.
No. I'm just saying between him and like.
No, even if we didn't know things about Harvey Weinstein, we know from Kevin Smith and other people, it's like, oh, he's a piece of shit of a human being. If none of this stuff was out, it would. It's just the same with like Bryan Singer. Yeah, I mean, I love those X-Men movies, but it's like, oh, okay, he's a weirdo, and they've known he was a weirdo for 15 years, and everyone like lied about it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's still working. Just same like Woody Allen.
Well,
shit.
Really. He got kicked off the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, so
yeah, his career. He
pretty much directed that whole movie, and then like. It's like, and then the stuff started coming out more. It's like, we're just gonna put a different name on that, which is why they thought the editing was weird because he's no longer on the movie, but he shot the movie.
Yeah, he.
Well, and the thing where like every band member wanted equal time.
Yeah, which I think is horse shit. I mean, I know they're the ones still alive and everything, and they think they matter. Which, yes, without them there wouldn't be a band. But Jesus fucking Christ. No one came to see fucking Brian the bassist or who the fuck have equal screen time with Freddie Mercury for the whole.
I actually thought the astrophysicist guitarist. It's like, I want to know more about this guy.
No,
actual astrophysicist.
No, and that part is interesting, so that's fine. But I'm talking about like just the parts where it's still.
When you're gonna see a Queen movie, what you really want to see is a Freddie Mercury movie.
You don't want to see their manager have equal screen time.
Well, that's why like Sacha Baron Cohen left it earlier is because like he read the screenplay and like midway through Freddie Mercury dies. Like, oh, this is interesting. It's gonna be like they're gonna do a bunch of like time skipping around, jump around and stuff, and it's like. Oh, then the rest of the movie is just how Queen carried on after Freddie Mercury died. No one gives a shit how Queen carried on after Freddie Mercury died.
We name one song the Queen released after Freddie Mercury died. It's like, no, you can't. So they probably did, but no one cared. So.
And you hear a bunch of stories about like how talented Freddie Mercury was and how he just like fucking lifted the whole band up.
I mean, it's just like any other like good band with a high profile guitarist or lead singer. Once that person either moves on, dies, or whatever, nobody gives two shits about that band anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard. We were discussing that like other movies that could have happened in this similar. Because I was talking about like Ozzy Osbourne leaving Black Sabbath and how when Ozzy left and they picked up James Dio, like it was still a good band. It wasn't necessarily like the hit maker like it was with Ozzy, but it was still a good band afterwards. And then Nathan described both Queen and Black Sabbath had like a really successful kind of like European.
Yeah, they have a life in Europe where it's just a nostalgia tour.
So that
leave money on the table world tour. Well, I mean, they play the hits. I mean, well, who's the people? Who was it? REO Speed? Who's the guy they hired the singer from the Philippines? because the lead singer quit or whatever, and it's a big band.
Fuck, I can't.
Was it REO Speedwagon?
I can't remember.
Anyway,
I
yeah.
vaguely know what you're talking about.
We do that.
No, I mean Queen brought in Adam Lambert for like a year or two when he won American Idol. Like they do stuff like that where they replace band members, especially posthumously ones that have died long ago or recently.
Or me and Nathan talked about Van Halen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so
heroin decides the success.
So I mean that's fine. I mean if it helps the band go on and people experience the music and they have a career, fine. I don't really care if Alabama or fucking some other band that I've never cared about continues to tour. That's none of my goddamn business. I'm not the one shelling out the money for tickets to that shit.
I do want to see it because I'm not sure if it's still going around, but that tour for The Wall sounds really cool.
Oh yeah, Pink Floyd stuff's always first rate, but grab your wallet. Those guys are like in their late 70s now. Well, I mean, there's another one like Pink Floyd. Leadership changes, band change. They manage and very contentious relationship with the band members.
Well, if they're in their late 70s, is it okay if we just bring whatever medication we're taking to the show and throw it on stage and paint it?
Yeah, they were those kind of guys. AC/DC. Yeah, he just lost their lead singer. Dead as a doornail. Had a hugely successful career after. Now they're done, right? Because
their lead guitarist, he has like dementia.
Yeah.
Like they did one last tour, and he basically forgot how to play guitar and had to spend the whole time relearning how to play guitar, which that's sad.
Yeah,
but
it's sad.
Sad and impressive, but sad.
And then what was the other one? Well, their lead singer, their second lead singer, like has throat problems now, so he's just out. And those guys are in their mid to late 70s too. So, how much touring are we doing?
Well, I mean, I get to that one tour.
What was it? The Eagles still tour?
Yeah, again, that's another one of those no money on the table world tour. We're not leaving a dime.
Because I think that's like one of those like, here's the biggest tours this year, and it's like always the Eagles like, oh, we made $140 million. It's like, where the fuck? Who the fuck? And what the fuck?
Well,
that's called the baby boomers' last gasp.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of stuff like all those old bands where people who actually had real jobs in a future, which the last generation that had that were really like mom and dad's generation, the baby boomers, like, oh, $500 for a ticket? Sure, honey, let's go. Or $50,000 for a motorcycle from the 50s. And I mean, I used to be into Harleys and I still love them, but it's like, yeah, the only people keeping that alive are mom and dad, because I don't have that kind of money. You don't have that kind of money. The generation between me and Grayson, what are they? The millennials? They don't have any. They don't even have anything. They have a huge college note. So yeah, all that stuff's dead in 5-10 years because no one can pay for it anymore.
Well, I hear like a lot of '90s bands are having pretty good success coming back together and just playing the hits.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially some like the boy bands and shit have been doing that recently too.
I'll
Backstreet
never see Jethro Tull again. So.
No.
I mean, they're still around, but well, Ian Anderson's still around. I don't know if the rest of them are doing that anymore.
Yeah, the closest I got to go to see a Nine Inch Nails show was like when they were in Minnesota. But it was like $250 for like a ticket up in the rafters, and that was like a 6-hour drive.
Didn't you like show me like one in Chicago or like something like that where you had to drive there to like get tickets recently in the last?
Yeah, well, yeah, recently because they wanted to cut down on scalping.
Yeah.
So they made it like you had to go to the venue to get the tickets.
Yeah, and what was the price then? Still like $200 something?
Yeah, it was like $200.
I mean, I can't say it's not worth it because they always seem to put on good shows.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find bands that do that consistently and care that much about it. But at the same time, fucking Jesus goddamn great. It's like,
I mean, I would pay it because I think it would be worth it. But it is.
No, but that's just the thing. It's like I'm fine, like maybe like 90 or 100 is my comfortable level per ticket for any show.
I mean, but this is my favorite band of all time, so
yeah.
it's like I'm not really in that contention of for what's a reasonably priced ticket. But
well, I mean,
and it wasn't the cost that kept me out of it; it was just the pure logistics of it.
No.
Yeah, because they were. You told me they were like in Detroit.
Yeah, and I was like, I was like, I'll get you a ticket too. I just need you to stand in line. He's like, I'm not going to that show. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
I guess
it was where the venue was too. It's like, yeah, I'd love to help you out, Colin, but I'm not going to go down there, stand around for a ticket, get a rock thrown through my window so they can steal the fucking iPod charging cord that's in.
Well, no, you were willing to go get the ticket for me, but you didn't want to get a ticket for yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm sorry. No.
Well, I mean, do they come to Chicago, or do they have another tour announced anytime soon?
I don't think they have a new tour announced yet, because he does a lot of TV and movie work nowadays, doing soundtracks and stuff.
Next time it comes up, let me know, and I'll see if I can work something out, because I'll go with you with it. I mean, it'll have to be something I have to know about in advance, so I'm like, I better get that $300 squared away. Like, all that shit. But
I did see that Black Mirror episode with Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, that's weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I meant to
How
watch
quick
that.
did you... Well, I told you, so it kind of ruined
Well,
it.
I already knew it from the T-shirt from the Nine Inch Nails store.
I knew nothing about it, and I watched it last Saturday, and it's like, oh, they're doing some up-tempo, weird, kind of modifying the lyrics version of Head Like a Hole. Like, I thought that, but I didn't know who... That was Miley Cyrus was the main... Because I don't know who Miley Cyrus is. I didn't know that was the main person. I mean, I know who she is, but I don't know where to see her. And then I was like, what, they're just doing... That's Head Like a Hole. They're going to get the shit suit out of them. And then you find out, oh, no, Trent Reznor's all bought into it. It's a lark. It's like, oh, okay.
And then the Right Where It Belongs is in the middle there. That's where it's pretty much exactly the song when she's like at the piano. It's like, oh, this is Right Where It Belongs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they have two Nine Inch Nails tracks, and apparently this is a universe where Trent Reznor doesn't exist, but his dream, his music enters her head when she dreams or something. They don't explain that at all. It's but it's just such bizarre. And then at the end of it, it's just Head Like the Hole, but performed by Miley Cyrus. But like not in an upbeat tempo way. It's a rock band version of Head Like a Hole.
Yeah, and this is for my fucking aunt.
Yeah, and that's where that's where you see it's like right on the nose, where like all the lyrics from Head Like a Hole are like directing the traffic of the plot of the show. It's like, okay, all right, that's fun. It's both completely misses the mark, but it's also okay at the same time. Like
that's when I like Black Mirror, because I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone and like anthology message sci-fi, like Harlan Ellison, all that. I love that stuff, and that's where Black Mirror is endearing and frustrating. It's like, oh, you guys are fucking this up. You're kind of going in the wrong direction, but then in the end, they kind of hook you back in with like, oh, okay, you're having fun. You sort of tried. I guess I like it. You know, at least you're trying.
Yeah, usually my problem with Black Mirror is it doesn't necessarily seem to be like a variety of episodes. Like they're usually like always completely bleak, but sometimes there's a fun episode, and that's usually the best episode of the season is the fun episode.
Yeah,
because I remember there was a really fun reductive. How they reduced Black Mirror is what if technology but too much.
Yeah.
That's every Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, well, Black Mirror is one of those things that like it probably gained some undeserved popularity because season 1 had some standout episodes, but it was all like super British. It was like, oh, okay, this is crazy British shit. And then season 2 and season 3, it became like
that was a Netflix show. It was season 3, I think.
Yeah, it became a Netflix property, so kind of had the same core to it, but a little more like less bleak island death, island of brain type misery, which the British love. It broadened its horizons a little bit, still pretty miserable, but yeah, that's so I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Black Mirror. It's like you'll never be as good as the Twilight Zone, and I mean the Twilight Zone from the 60s here. But yeah, it's you tried, I guess.
Well, I thought Jordan Peele was doing a reboot of Twilight Zone now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's on the CBS All Access network.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to see it, but how many subscription services can I pay to?
I only saw one episode. I thought it was okay. So yeah. I've heard like it's okay, but nobody's blown away by it. But really, really well done production. So that's
there's
that.
I mean, there's a Star Trek out there I haven't seen because I'm just like willing to.
So,
I think over shutdown, I might try my free trial and just binge bang all that stuff and then cancel it because I'm not going to pay for another subscription because I already have many. I have a fucking outrageous cable bill. I got all the HBO, everything, and it's like, well, I was glad Chernobyl was on. That was cool.
So you're not gonna get DC Universe?
No, I don't give it.
Catch it before they cancel everything.
I'm getting too old to give a shit about the superhero.
No, I
used to go see movies constantly, and now it's. I mean, last thing me and Grayson saw.
John Wick.
Well, we saw John Wick, but like the last thing I was excited about was like, let's go see this one about the Lighthouse Keepers. Well, I forget what it's called now. It's got a big name actor in it. But yeah, and I had to go to the Weird Theater in Southfield. Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Is it the one where they witness a murder or something and they like try and like hold off people in the middle of the island or shit?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I kind of saw the trailers for it. It looked interesting. I said no if it'd be good or not.
The only thing that really drew me into that was that's based on a real thing because these 3 lighthouse keepers just disappeared off the Alien Moor lighthouse it was like the turn of the last centuries. Mm-hmm. And it's a real thing that happened, but this was a fictional story of what might have happened.
Well, because Gerard Butler, like, I like him as an actor, but
Do you like him as an actor?
I think
he's like an okay dude. I don't think he's a good actor.
Well, no, like
I like Gerard Butler as. Now I'll tell you, I like Gerard Butler as a Scottish actor. I like him when he's doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't when he does this weird White House Down type movies. I don't like those.
Well, I guess I should preface what movies
I swear this movie is not on his filmography.
What, Keepers or whatever it was called?
Is it just because it's like Angel Has Fallen? That's the latest one. How to Train Your Dragon, Hunter Killer, The Vanishing, Den of Thieves, and now is it The Vanishing? Okay. Okay, yeah, it's The Vanishing. I thought it was more elaborate than that. What's the name of the story that it's based on?
The Alien Moor Lighthouse Keeper mystery.
Okay.
Or the Channel Islands. There's different things that it's because in Europe it was called one thing. I think it was called Keepers in Europe.
Okay.
And with the subtitle, the Alien Moor Lighthouse. But for America, it's like, oh, they're all stupid. Vanishing. That's what Americans, they can handle one action word. And they're probably right. But yeah. All right, I gotta go.
All right.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.